Hello there, guys. Well, I'm here in the kitchen making some food again. This is the beginning of another weekly vlog, and it's going to be unedited. And I really just wanted some company while I was prepping some food because my mother-in-law is coming over and she's going to tell me about the vacation they just took. And I might get her help because I don't think I'm strong enough to make this whole recipe myself. But I wanted to also pre-rec this vlog saying, this actually has a theme, unlike most of my weekly vlogs. So this week's theme is going to be reading like Kate Howe, because I had 4 books that she recommended that were just sitting around that I had out from the library, and I wasn't getting to them because they don't have audiobooks. And also, like 2 years ago probably, Kate Howe did a video for, it wasn't March Mystery Madness, it was the one that was like during Christmas or something, like during December. She recommended during one of those mystery readathons that I read, she did a video recommending, I think 3 mysteries, all of which I started or already had started before, sorry, I'm just gonna have alarms going off. So I had started one of them, which was The Great Deliverance, or A Great Deliverance by Elizabeth George.
Chicken in.
Sorry. So much noise. That's my recipe that I have going on. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So she describes that series as very literary and says that she will often recommend that as a mystery recommendation for people who like literary stuff. So we'll see if I get to that this month. I actually DNF'd it the first time before she had recommended it, because I just remember it having like a really obnoxious description of Americans, like a stereotype that Americans are loud and noisy and have no respect for other cultures. And I was just like, okay, I don't need to read this. So we'll see if I get to that, but I restarted it and I am enjoying the characterization, but it will totally depend on if I can just listen to it, because I don't want to be reading it beyond this week. So one of the other mysteries that she recommended that I have already started, and I'm in chapter 2, and I'm like listening and reading a little bit every night, is The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie by Alan Bradley. And this one is entertaining, like from the get-go. I think I'm going to enjoy this one. So it's following a family that it seems like they kind of test each other. Like it begins with one of the younger sisters locked in a closet and trying to get out of the closet, and you're like, what is going on? Is this starting off with her like escaping from a kidnapping, or like what's going on? And it turns out her sisters have put her in the closet. So it's like a family game thing, but like it's intense. So that was a funny way to start the book. And so what's happened is the father her father answers the door, and on the doorstep there's a dead bird with a postage stamp like put over its beak, you know, like a lid on a straw. And it's on the cover here. Sorry, I have a lot of stuff on my screen, but I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. Regardless, and this is Tiffany's vlog. She just put up a vlog, so I was listening to that while I cooked. So and the dad like almost faints, like he turns white and can't breathe, and it's like a real intense reaction from him. And his youngest daughter, and the daughter that we're following from her point of view, she's like, what's going on with dad? So I'm very interested to find out what happens in that one. Although there was a quote in there that she mentions, she calls her chemistry lab her holy of holies. And yeah, here we go. It's just gonna be this whole time, I'm just gonna be having alarms going off. She calls her chemistry lab her holy of holies, and she's like, I found that term in a book, in a biography of Thomas Jefferson or something. It's like, do you really not know that term is from the Bible? Like, that would be a real easy Google search. Holy of Holies is from the Hebrew Bible. So anyways, whatever, not that big of a deal, but it just annoyed me. So, but that's really common with modern books. They annoy me a lot with things like that. But anyways, so that's what's going on with the mysteries that she's recommended. The other book that I have started and I'm really enjoying is called The Island of Horses by Eilis Dillon, and this is more of a recent recommendation. And I think she read it during middle grade March. And I'm really enjoying it so far because it's about two boys who live in Ireland, and one of the boys had just tried to start like a cotton business where he was bringing cotton from his little island to the mainland and selling it for not too much of a profit, but a much better deal than the islanders were getting for their cotton previously. Because over on this mainland, this like bigger area, their cotton was being sold like 5 times the price that they were getting for it. And so the brothers were trying to like set up their own business, and they got really disappointed because the person who's running this role like cut rate business, he found out and basically stopped them from earning a profit. So that was really disappointing for them, obviously. So then 2 friends end up going to, by the way, this is from a local, it's like a meat store. So I don't know where all they buy their meat, but it's like not more expensive than the grocery store. A lot of it is smaller, like this is a pretty small chicken, but it wasn't that expensive, so I don't mind. And I think he just gets it from like more quality local places, but they have like all kinds of meat. We also got like frog legs. We have those in the freezer. And we've gotten venison, which neither of us really like that much, but we'll probably try it again at some point. We got quail, and yeah, we've been having fun with it. So anyways, I'm making hainanese chicken and rice, and there's a TikTok recipe that I'm following. Let me look up what her name is because it's from her culture. Her name is Cassie, and her @ is Kyung money. Yeah, so anyways, I love her TikTok about it because it's funny, but she's making this dish from her culture as well, and so it's looked really yummy. So anyways, so I'm cutting off some of the fat from the chicken because that's going to be used for some flavoring. We're going to fry some of the stuff in the chicken fat, and I've got some broth on the stove. So I cut up some green onions, and I'm going to throw them in the broth. And then there's already some chicken bouillon in the broth. You're supposed to use chicken broth, but I don't have any chicken broth, so we're using beef broth because that's just what I have. And then I'm gonna exfoliate the chicken with this is actually garlic salt that I normally use for roasting. It's really, really good, but I'm gonna use it for this chicken. And then I think after the chicken is done, then we fry up some more of the green onions and garlic and ginger, and we set some of that aside, and we make like an oil out of it. You pour hot oil, sesame oil and neutral oil, just a little bit of sesame oil. So I'll kind of take you through the steps, but and then you fry some washed white rice in that oil for a bit. And you fry some of the chicken skin in the oil as well, so that there's some natural chicken flavoring. And then eventually you take some of the broth from the chicken and put it in the rice until the rice is cooked. And then there you have it. Then you have your chicken and rice. So it's actually like pretty simple, even if it's, I don't know, it sounds like a lot, I guess. When I first saw the recipe, I was like, ooh, that's a bit of a lot. But it's not actually that complicated. It's just, yeah, it's not complicated stuff. It's just a lot of steps, I guess you would say. But mostly the steps that you end up having to do is cutting more garlic and ginger and green onions. So as long as you just cut enough of that, it's not going to be complicated for you. Okay, I'm going to use like a lot of salt because I like a lot of flavor. So anyways, yeah. So yeah, anyway, back to the island of horses. So the younger brother of the brother duo who was trying to run this cotton business goes to the island of horses with his friend. Basically, they're like, let's take a vacation. There's this island that it's not haunted exactly, but it's kind of like considered a cursed island because people used to live on the island, but nobody lives there now, mainly because the winters are so intense and difficult. And, okay, I'm gonna stick this in the stove. So the last people who lived on this island of horses had such a hard winter that all the old people died and all the animals died. And so the boys have never been there, but they've always seen it. Like off the coast of where they live, they can see the island of horses from there. And they can like feel the impact of the waves on the sand. And like, I don't know, it sounds like it's almost like something that's been hovering on the edge of their consciousness that they've been curious about all their lives. So the boys just arrived there where I am in the story, and they're gonna have to survive at least a couple nights is what they're planning on. But they were like, what if we get stuck here for like a month and there's bad weather? So we'll see how long they end up staying there. But I think at least some of the conflict of the book is gonna be when they get back to the island. Probably with the cotton guy, maybe the guy who like ruined their cotton business. We'll see. I'm curious. I'm very curious about it. So I would have loved a book like this when I was a kid because I thought survival literature was really interesting. Like Island of the Blue Dolphins. I didn't read the whole thing when I was a kid because my friend told me it was really sad. She told me something that was gonna happen, and so I didn't finish it. Where did oh well. But I really loved like the survival portions of it, and there were other books that I read like that. There's a section of Tamora Pierce's Caladria of Mindolin books where it's like a survival section. All the pages have to go into the royal forest and hunt for themselves and survive, and so I loved stuff like that. I think once you get past the opening like chapter of this book, I feel like kids would be into it. So excited to check it out some more, and excited to read more of Kate's recommendations. And since we had the live stream last night on Kate's channel, where we were talking about our summer TBR. So I have my summer TBR all planned out now, thanks to that. And we might end up having another live stream at the end of the summer, kind of wrapping up what we ended up reading. So yeah, I'm super excited for that. And I think that was mainly all I wanted to talk to you about today. But I'll show you how my recipe ends up going. All right, I'll talk to you guys a little later in the week when I've read some more. Okay, bye. Hey guys, okay, I just realized you haven't been able to see anything what I've been doing here, so oh well, I guess. Anyways, I'm chopping up the garlic, and I'm gonna work on my ginger next. And so I remembered, I was watching Tiffany's vlog as I'm doing all this, and I remembered that I started listening to, I think it's Not Just a Witch by Ibbotson. Yeah. So that was another one that Kate Howe had actually planned to read during Boo to You readathon, and I actually started it then as well, but I was listening to it at night before bed, and lately I've been sleeping so well that my bedtime book I haven't been really following very well, but I decided to try listening to it again at bedtime just to see if I could fit in one more book that Kate Howe recommended. And I also wanted to mention I have a book out for a buddy read as well with like Catholic booktube. So many of my Catholic booktubers are in a Voxer chat for this book. Where is it? It was Introduction to Christianity by Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who was a pope. Not the last pope, but I think the one before. And I'm really interested in that so far because he's talking a lot about politics and about like Marxism and the fall of all of the Soviet countries. I think he said it was in the year like 1989, although I could be wrong about that. But a bunch of them fell within a very short couple period of years. And in Europe, a lot of the European ones just suddenly fell. And that's very interesting to me. I've always been really interested in learning more about Marxist history because, and maybe that's why I'm so interested in Russia and North Korea as well. I'm just fascinated by countries who have tried to implement that. And I know that socialists will say they did it wrong because they didn't do it from a place of wealth, where they were moving from an industrial country into this Marxist way of running a country. And so they didn't have the wealth to make it happen. I realize that that is something that socialists will say if you're like, you know, all of these countries didn't work out. So, but yeah, so I'm really interested in reading that because that's what he's just talking about in the introduction. So, but there's no audiobook and I only have it for like 11 more days. So I'm going to be probably having my iPad read it to me, and I'm probably not going to be able to pay as much attention as I want. And maybe someday I can come back and reread it with more attention, but I'm really excited to get into it. Just hear his thoughts. I've never read anything by a Pope at all, so should be interesting. Anyways, that's not something that K-How recommended, but it is something that I'm going to be working on this week. Okay, now that I think that's really it. Okay. And I'm enjoying my chicken, which is also so good. Hello there, guys. Okay, it is now Wednesday, May 24th, and I'm just getting some sun out on my deck, and just realized my laptop is in the sun. I'm gonna get some work done, but I've been reading all morning, and I read last night for a little while, so I wanted to update you about my progress. So, first of all, I am loving A Great Deliverance. Like, so much. I don't know why I felt the need to quit listening to it so many years ago. I'm just enjoying it so much now. So, it's following, really, I think we're going to be following two particular inspectors who are trying to solve a murder. And one of the inspectors is, I think Barbara Havers is her name, and then the other one is Inspector Lindley. And it's interesting because we first hear about Lindley through Barbara Havers' perspective, and they're both part of the policing system. I don't know the exact titles there, but in Britain. And so it's interesting because when you're in somebody's head in A Great Deliverance, you're so deeply into their head that, I couldn't even tell what was true. I couldn't tell what was true and what was just this person's thoughts about the situation. You know what I mean? So when we're seeing things from Barbara's perspective, we're seeing a real internal war going on with her, where she has a lot of psychological anxieties, and she makes a lot of assumptions about the people around her, and it makes it really impossible for her to work successfully with another partner. And so she gets teamed up with Inspector Lindley, who is, I guess, more of a genteel kind of personality, probably what the British would call well-bred personality. And so they're being tried together. So it's very interesting. There's one comment where when they first meet in the book, and you're seeing somebody very different from who you would expect from Barbara's description of him. When she describes Inspector Lindley, he sounds like a womanizer who's like no good, dandy. You know, you're expecting certain things based on her description of him. But then when you first meet him, he seems very polite and well-mannered. And so she's like talking to him like, I don't know if this is some kind of joke that's being played on us. Like, I don't know why we're being teamed up, because she's just expecting the worst already out of this. And she just expects that he's going to be really mad that they've been teamed up. And he's not mad. He's just like, well, actually, you know, maybe it's not a joke. Maybe you're just the right person for this job. And she was like, she did. And then something else happened. But it was just interesting because there's obviously very competing worldviews, and there's very whoever's head we're in, it's very convincing. Seeing from their perspective is very convincing. So I'm really loving that. I'm so glad that Kate recommended this. And this is a really long series too, so I think I could have a lot of fun with the series. So I'm excited about that. I'm also really enjoying The Island of Horses, which, I mean, am I really surprised that I'm enjoying everything that Kate Howe recommends? No, I'm not surprised at all. So this, I thought it was going to be sort of survival-y, but it's not really survival-y. It's, but there are boys who are basically out in nature, and they just know how to take care of themselves. I don't know exactly what their ages are, but I would guess preteen to early teen would be my guess. But there's nothing in this that would make it a teen book. It's really more of a middle grade book, but I think teens would enjoy it. It's just not really dealing with what today's YA deals with. So it's not what you would expect. If it came out in the young adult genre today, you would not expect this. This reminds me a lot of The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater, except of course this is much shorter and it's not written with that same humor. Like, it's a totally different writing style, and I love it. I love this as well. It's just very different. But it's talking quite a bit about island ponies, as you might expect from Island of the Horses. There's an island where there's a bunch of horses on it running wild, and that's the island where the boys go that I described in this earlier clip, and they discover a horse there. And so their time on the island was really interesting because it was the boys were showing how that they would survive on the island on their own for a couple days, basically. Like, you know, roasting potatoes in the fire and taking the ruins of a building and making a roof for it, like a makeshift roof, capturing a horse, like just really interesting things. And I'm definitely enjoying it so much. So, but it's also about where they are from in Ireland, like the particular place that they live and the kinds of ways that people make money there and the ways that they survive, the economy of Ireland, I guess you would say. And yeah, it's not boring, even though the way I'm describing it might sound really quiet and boring, but it's like very easy to read and I'm really enjoying it. So let's see, I'm on page 93 of this. And this is not something that Kate Howe recommended. I finally got a chance. I've been reading very slowly this history of Korea, and so I read a couple pages and took notes on them this morning. And I'll probably just read a little bit more. I usually give myself the mornings to do whatever I want, you know, creatively and Bible study wise, and then I try to get more work done actually in the afternoon, and then in the evenings I have social stuff. So I've just found that creates for the best mental landscape for me across the day. I can relax better into my routine if I have some time in the morning to just follow creative pursuits. So since my job is a part-time job, that works for me. But regardless, so what I was reading about today, I'm in chapter 26, which is about South Korean democratization. So I'm reading about the Gwangju uprising, which was in May 1980, and this is a full 7 years before the official switch to the democracy government, the Sixth Republic, which is currently still in place in Korea. So that it officially became a democracy in 1987, but the Gwangju uprising was really the fire behind that. So basically, South Korea had had a series of dictators that were really controlling, and they made martial law kind of the rule of Korea, and the people were not really happy with this martial rule, and they did multiple uprisings and protests and were often suppressed really violently by these leaders. And so in this case, the Gwangju uprising, it was particularly violent. Like 200 people were killed, hundreds of people were injured, and so that really lived on, and it still lives on as really a symbol towards democracy, a push for democracy. Boy, that is a loud bird. Anyways, yeah, I'm really loving learning about this, and it talks a little bit about kind of the revolutionary thoughts of the students at the time. And this isn't something that I've heard a lot about in South Korea because it is so capitalist. It's like extremely capitalist as a nation today, but it definitely was not always that way. And there's quite a lot of revolutionary kind of thought happening, especially when they were being suppressed by the dictators, because a lot of the dictators were pro-democracy, or pro-capitalism, and working with the U.S. and acknowledged by the U.S. and stuff like that. So, yeah, I can understand why people would feel that way. So their politics are complex and definitely different from like American politics or any other politics. Just like any nation, the party means different things. Left and right means different things. Revolutionary means different things, etc. So really enjoying this so much, and maybe I can recommend this to Kate Howe. Actually, I don't know though. There isn't like an audiobook, and it's taken me so long to read Kate that I'm not sure if I would recommend this to you or not. But maybe if you're interested in Korea, I would recommend. I know you are interested in Korea, but I just don't know if this would be maybe the one I would recommend. Because I know you, like me, really appreciate a good audiobook, and this one doesn't have one. So anyways, that's it for now. I'm gonna get back to work, and I'll update you again a little later. Bye.
Just give me a wink. Wink? The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a 2020.
Hello there, guys. It is now Friday. What is the date? I forgot to check. I don't remember the date, but regardless, we are out for some appointments, and we are in a rental car because we're getting our car worked on. And I skipped breakfast because it's a windy road to get here, so we are heading over to IHOP to get some breakfast. So, super excited. So I am loving the Inspector Lindley series, book 1, and I did reach the point that I DNF'd it previously because there are some really annoying American characters, but it really didn't, I definitely didn't feel, as under attack as I did the first time I was listening to it. I didn't feel like, this is such an unfair, representation of Americans. Like, it was like, I think the author's really good at portraying characters of various backgrounds. So I just think her writing style is really amazing. I don't know. I'm not sure why it's hitting me so much differently now, but that's what I've been finding lately is rereading books that I didn't really like when I was younger. A lot of times I'm finding that I like them more now. Weird how that happens. And I am loving also Island of the Horses. I'm getting near the end of that one. I probably have like 50 or 60 pages left. And every evening when I sit down to read it, I just love it. And I did take a short break to read Monster one night because that's a manga. And I'm just loving that as well. But I'll talk about that maybe in next week's blog because I'll probably finish it next week. So looking to finish Island of the Horses. I probably won't finish the Inspector Lindley series by the end of this vlog, book 1. But I'll probably continue it into next week. But just wanted to update you and say loving it so much. It's so good. Look at this feast. Yum! Okay, sounds good.
Hi Paige, how are you?
The chairs in this theater are so cool. They're like basically recliners with like electric features. I can like fall asleep in here. And we have the whole theater to ourselves. Apparently nobody wants to see the latest Fast, babe. Except you. Kevin and I were just out shopping, and we're gonna head over to his parents' house and have a Mother's Day dinner, a late Mother's Day dinner. So, and his brother is having a birthday. So, it's Saturday now, so our movie was really fun. Like, it was very entertaining. Those movies, the fast movies, aren't normally something that I am like, yeah, I'm gonna totally watch those, but the movie theater was so nice, and it was just fun to go to the movies. We haven't done that in so long. So, we had a good time, and the movie was not bad. It's like what you'd probably expect, but enjoyable. And so yeah, we're gonna head over to dinner, and I'll talk to you guys a little later.
So when he's trying to prove that the people that said it was these kids, one of them was he took pictures of windows that look like this.
Hello there, guys. It's now Sunday, May 28th, so it's the end of my Reading Like Kate Howe week, and you know what? I really enjoyed this. This was so fun. So I'm like maybe 40 pages from the end of this. So I'm just reading a little bit every evening, and I'm just loving it so much. So it's basically what I already described to you, and it wasn't, there were some really fun, like, adventurous elements to it. So yeah, I really liked this. Thank you, Kate, for recommending that. And then the other thing that I'm loving and not going to finish this week, unfortunately, but hopefully soon, would be a Great Deliverance by Elizabeth George. And so this is the literary mystery series that I've been listening to. So I'm 56% of the way through this. I've listened to quite a bit of it this morning when I was getting ready for filming this. So, but I have some booktube videos I want to listen to, and I haven't listened to my Korean podcast yet for the day. So I think what I would change if I was doing a longer version of Reading Like Kate Howe would probably be, I would need to find some nonfiction that she recommends. I just didn't happen to have any of those out at the moment. She does read biographies, and like, she reads all kinds of genres, but I just happen to tend towards her cozy recommendations. When she recommends something cozy and fun, that tends to be something that I will be like, oh, that sounds fun, I want to try that. So I happen to have a bunch of like children's literature and stuff like that out, and then she'd recommended mysteries to me. So that's what I had to hand, and I really enjoyed reading them. But I think if I was going to do a longer version of this, I would definitely need to pick like George Eliot or a nice biography or something that she's recommending. Something like heartier, because I just was constantly feeling like, you know, during the day, if I was getting reading time, a lot of times I would still gravitate towards my Korean history book or, you know, my Greek textbook. Obviously, I'm doing that every morning regardless. That wouldn't change, but I just really have been focusing on doing those things as well. And I think if I, you know, did a longer vlog, I would maybe replace one of those with something more intensive that Kate Howe recommended. But this was pretty cozy, I gotta say. This was a very cozy reading vlog. So I did end up DNFing The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie, not because it's bad, but because I just wasn't in the mood for like more cozy, fun reading. I was like more in the mood for something more substantial. So I don't think that's a bad recommendation for me at all, but I just don't want to have it going on along with The Great Deliverance and a bunch of children's books. So here were the other books that I had out from her that I didn't show you earlier because I wasn't sure I would get to them. And I kind of didn't think that I would, because I don't tend to read things quickly. Even if I tend to finish a lot of things by the end of the month, it's usually taken me like a month or so to read those books. So I just tend to spend more time with a book long term. But the other books that I had out were, of course, The Sherwood Ring by Elizabeth Murray Pope. And I had this out because she and Emma were reading this for their get together. And I'm just so curious about it. I would love to check it out. I've never read anything by Elizabeth Murray Pope, but I remember hearing about her all of my reading life. So someday, hopefully, I will get to that. And the nice thing about this vlog was I'm finally getting to some things that she had recommended. And of course, I'm always I'm kind of always reading things from her. Like I'm reading Witch Hat Atelier because of her. And I always have like a classic in the wings in mind because of her. Like this coming month, I'm going to be hopefully reading Moorland Cottage by Eilis. Sorry, can't remember the name right now. But one of my favorite Victorian authors. Just love her. So I'm excited to try Moorland Cottage. So I guess next month I will be reading like Kate Howe again in a sense. But regardless, the other book that I had out was The Wheel on the School by Mendert de John. I don't know how you pronounce that. I don't know. It's some kind of honor. And this one sounds so good. Like I just don't tend to gravitate towards English, Irish. I don't know. I don't even know where this is. But I just love that. I don't even know. A lot of European things I don't tend to gravitate towards naturally because I'm like Russia, Korea, you know, those are the things that I gravitate towards, and like things related to theology and, you know, things like that. So it's really nice once in a while to try out something that Kate recommends from a different area of the world. So that's why I picked this up, and I haven't gotten to it yet. So, and I won't be getting to it this week, sadly. But regardless, really enjoyed reading like Kate Howe. Thank you, Kate, for all the recommendations. And so this morning I spent quite a long time taking notes on Greek for the rest of us because still working on Greek. And so today I was working on the inflection of nouns, which is so interesting. I never knew what that meant, but I kept running into terms like the case of a word and the inflection of a word. And I didn't know what that meant. So finally getting into that, it's by William D. Mounce. I'm enjoying his book. It feels a little bit more layman than the other book that I had tried by him. But in general, Greek is turning out to be more of a technical study for me than Korean is. Korean, I feel like there's a lot of layman's materials out there to teach just the average person who wants to work on Korean. There's so much out there for you for Korean, but that's not the case with Greek. That wasn't the case with Russian, unfortunately. And I'm sure there's a lot out there for Spanish, but I wasn't finding things that I was really like going crazy over. So yeah, I guess, but I'm going to continue with Greek because I have a period in the morning that I can devote to that every day almost, because it falls under the category of studying the Bible. So, and I make time for that every day. So I'm going to continue with that. Really enjoyed learning about that. So, what else? Yeah, I think that's mainly it. And yeah, let me know if you guys are enjoying this format, because I'm really enjoying this format. Like, I'm literally loving this. And it's nice to be able to post something so frequently for you guys, you know, once a week. That's really nice. I've never been able to do that on this channel. So let me know if you're still enjoying this, or if it's like getting old, Christy. It's already getting old. But it is nice because vlogging makes me more excited to read. It makes me devote more time to reading, because then I get to talk about it and share what I'm talking about, and I get to be excited about it. So yeah. And we're also about to... you guys are making me feel a lot less secure, by the way, about posting unedited videos, because I was feeling very insecure about it for a long time. But you guys, your comments are just so sweet and supportive, and I love hearing from you. I love hearing what you're reading every week. I love hearing your recommendations. I just love hearing from you guys on a regular basis, and that's a huge motivation for me to keep up the weekly vlogging, is basically interaction with you guys more often. So, and we are going to be sending our third check to Families Together soon. We are at $293. So woohoo! We're getting to our $300 mark pretty soon. So thank you so much for watching and supporting this channel, because without you, that would not happen. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Let me know in the comments what did you guys enjoy this month? I would really love to hear. Okay, I'll talk to you later.